live panel. Joining me on this month's roundtable, I have Patrick, All Caps Finance, Steve at Millennial Mojo, and Nathan, Dividend King TSX. I know most everybody knows each other, but Patrick, let's just go around and give ourselves a brief introduction for those that may not know who we are.
Great. How's it going, everybody? I'm Patrick, also known as All Cap Finance on Twitter. I've been active since 2021. I've been investing since 2012. Yes, I'm trying to make sure. And I've recently, after purchasing a house, I've sold all my mutual funds and started picking stocks. So, yeah, that's pretty much sums it up.
Nice.
So I'm pretty happy to be here.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for being here. Thank you to each and every one of you for coming on and spending your time. Let's just go around the horn there down to Dividend King TSX. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name's Nathan, or Dividend King TSX. I started this not this YouTube channel, but this account really last year at the end of August, and not really expecting anything. But today I passed 1,900 followers on Twitter, so thanks everyone who's kicking it with me there. I'm kind of just sharing my experience and knowledge with everybody about investing and dividend investing. Wherever the dividend is. And I'm 25 years old. I have a girlfriend of 5 years. I have a kid who's 9 months old. You might hear him in the background occasionally throughout this live stream. And that's about it. Yeah, I started investing late 2020, right after, COVID.
Nice. And the 1,900 followers was enough for the face reveal.
It was. I said 2,000, but, I like you guys too much. I couldn't do it. I had to do it,
And yeah,
we're honored.
Millennial Mojo.
Hi, I'm Steve. I'm just about 30. I've been investing since about 2012. I've bought one rental property, have quite a few dividends, ETFs, and just generally like talking about this stuff. It's fun stuff, and it's always good to hear other people's strategies. And kind of, you can always pick something out from everyone else, and you can learn something. And that's kind of the whole point of all this. You get to learn a little bit about how everyone else does things, and you can find what you can apply to your own strategy.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to give a shout out to Jeremy. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the live stream. So thanks for being here. And yeah, let's just get into talking about some of the different things. Actually, one of the things I want to talk about is this coming week. And one of my favorites, as everybody knows, is RioCan, and RioCan is going to pay me this week to not work for them. So do any of you have anything coming in this week that you're just like waiting on, whether it's, $5, $10, 20, 100, whatever? You have some passive income coming your way this week. Anyone?
I do. I have Vanguards coming in. I'm actually just double checking right now to see what ones are coming in. I can't remember off the top of my head. I have, I think, 2 ETFs paying probably tomorrow or the next day. VDY being one of them. That's my biggest holding, about 25% of my portfolio is in it. So I know they're paying this week. And then I think VRE as well. It's not loading right now, but I believe those are my 2 that are coming in this week.
Nice.
Patrick, you're in the same boat. Yeah, sorry, I'm in the same boat. I only have VDY coming in this week. It's my largest holding, I believe. It's either my largest or my second largest.
It's a solid pick.
But yeah, nothing. It's great, especially because it holds a little bit of everything. Like, it's how I started, was just, hey, let's start with this. Let's learn a little bit more about everything else, but let's start with a good, solid base foundation, then we'll work our way around from there. And I can confidently say I'm happy with it. But that's the only thing I have this week.
It's a good move, honestly. Like, I'm 80% invested into ETFs because it's just set it, forget it, don't have to think about it. I only hold 3 individual stocks. And everything else is just, ETFs. So I don't even have to think about it. I just collect my income and sit back and relax.
Yeah, it's quite a boring way to do it.
Boring but effective.
Oh, boring is good, honestly.
Right? What about you, Patrick? Do you have any income coming in this week?
I have Magna International coming in. I also have dividends in RioCan and also Johnson & Johnson.
Some J&J?
Yeah, nice. Some, well-proven company. Really boring company. Not much upside potential, but I mean there is upside potential, but it's not a quick gainer. It's a long-term solid company.
That's right.
It's gone through a bit of tough times. I think I'm negative right now in my portfolio with J&J, but it just means that I get to buy more income with those dividends
At a lower rate too. So I mean, really, that's not bad at all.
There you go. So Magna as well has been hitting with their earnings. Their earnings provisions are pretty low because of everything that's happening in the world. But again, it's a cyclical company, so that's something that I was aware of when I invested into it. So there are ups and downs. In the last year, I was able to get a lot more stocks because it went down. So a lot more units or shares, sorry. Mm-hmm. And it was slowly. I was dollar cost averaging back up, and now it's back down again. Right now I'm I think around 16% in the negative, but it just means I'm going to be able to have another opportunity to grab more shares and back the truck up.
That's right. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, what is everybody's worst performing dividend stock since they bought it? I'm really curious now.
I'll go first. So without even looking, I don't even have to look. I know what it is. It's HMMJ, which is a marijuana ETF.
Okay.
I definitely bought it sort of in that FOMO stage when it was going up and up and up, and it looked like it was just going to keep going up forever. And then one of those prime examples of as soon as you buy it, it tanks. Right?
That's right.
I'm sure we've all been there with that scenario of like, oh, I just bought it, so now it's going to tank, and that's exactly what HMMJ did. It's Horizon Marijuana something. It's a marijuana ETF, so it owns like obviously the other marijuana stocks within that ETF.
Yeah, that's right.
And as we all know, the marijuana industry in Canada somehow is not performing the way you would think it would. Like
it boomed like
out loud.
And then
we've heard that saying, like only the government can lose money selling drugs somehow, right?
Literally.
Yeah.
There's this saying with the marijuana stocks is buy high, sell low.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, well, that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I haven't sold yet on that one. I think they even didn't pay. Well, I know they didn't pay their dividend for a while, and then all of a sudden, because it's a quarterly, so 3 or 4 months ago, or maybe it was 5, because I think I've received 2 dividend cents. Just all of a sudden, it showed up in my account again.
Oh,
so it was like, okay, well, at least I'm getting a dividend from it again. But at the same time, it was like, and I even still like, last week or the week before, I sold off a bunch of my non-dividend payers just because I wanted them out of my way. Mm-hmm. And that one I was even considering selling as well. But I thought maybe I'll just hang on to it to see if I can recover, because I'm down quite a bit on it.
What percentage? I won't ask dollars, but what percentage, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, that I would have to look up. But yeah,
no worries then.
If somebody else wants to take a turn, I will take a look here and see if I can find that percentage.
Mine's
Scott, what have you lost money on?
Mine's AQN, Algonquin. I was not heavily invested into them, but around $18 is when I started buying them, and then they dropped to $14 and then $9. So when they hit $9, I doubled down. I literally just took whatever I had invested into it and bought it twice as much. So right now, I think I'm down 23% now because I've been continuously lowering my average on them. But at one point, I was down like 40% on AQN. And then when they cut that dividend, that was pretty harsh. But I mean, they had to. It was not sustainable. Even now, like they're still at a 9% dividend. I don't think it's sustainable for long if interest rates keep going up, because their debt is going to continuously raise as it's a variable debt, not a fixed rate. But I'm hopeful for the long term. Everyone needs utilities. They're a pretty big company now, in the grand scheme of things, at least with how many customers they have, and they're in like I think 3 or 4 different countries now at this point too. So I mean, I'm not overly worried, but part of me is still a little worried.
I'm down on AQN as well, but I'm not overly worried about it. I do feel they'll bounce back.
Mhm.
I did feel like I should have been buying when it was below $10,
Yeah.
but I didn't. So I'm just kind of holding what I do have. I did
No.
just look up how much I'm down percentage wise in HMMJ, and I can't even say that number out loud. It would scare everybody. So
It's too early on a Sunday to get sick looking at this number.
that's right.
I'd say my lowest stocks would be, but I was invested in Silogist, and they cut their dividend by crazy amounts. I don't even talk about it. So I waited about a week and then to see what was going to happen, and then I sold. So I don't remember. It's the past now. In in the financial world, everything that happened before, well, it doesn't count anymore.
That's right.
So yeah. So right now, currently, I think my lowest as well would be Algonquin.
Yeah, I will make that a basically the trifecta for the three of us. Yeah, or the four of us, I guess, not trifecta. I also am down my largest on Algonquin, and same thing as Nathan bought when it was around
3M.
18, 19, 20.
Sorry,
Yeah.
3M was down pretty as well, pretty much pretty low. I think it's like 50% since I've been tracking it. So yeah, it's not fun for people holding, but there's a lot of hopes for that company.
Yeah, that was just Tim's comment there in the comment section that he's down on 3M. Now that we've went through the depressing stage, thanks for bringing that one up, Nathan.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about maybe some of our gainers and dividend growth. Just what was that a month or 6 weeks ago that Bell Canada announced a dividend raise. I think RioCan did announce a raise as well there recently, a small raise. So I guess let's just talk about maybe the exact flip side of that. Some of the things you're up on.
That's pretty rare. Let me check.
I mean, could we give a huge giant shout out for Brookfield Asset Management?
Yeah, for sure.
I was very surprised to see, the initials after the split, the initial, sale, and then the quick, ramp up. It was just nuts,
That's a new position for me, BN, and I only had a couple shares, because I just started buying it around the $45 mark, and then on Thursday when they dropped down to I think 44.5, I bought a lot more. I think I 4 times my position in the company at that time because I was like, I don't think they'll go down this much. Originally, I was down 10% on my one share, but now I'm up 1.10%. So I mean, that was a really quick turnaround for them, and I think long term that's a solid company, and I think it's gonna be awesome for the future.
Yeah, I definitely have to give a shout out to Anthony at Newcomer Investor. He's definitely turned a lot of people onto Brookfield.
Did for me. He showed me so much.
He's their number one fan.
Honestly, he should be endorsed by them. He showed me so many resources, showed me hours of content, different screenshots from different investor meetings and everything like that, and it was absolutely amazing. He sold me on the company. He might secretly work for them and just not be allowed to tell us. I don't know.
Not financial advice from his perspective, but still buy the company from his perspective, right?
That's right.
Yeah, he has such a wealth of knowledge on Brookfield. I asked him some questions about it, so I also bought some BN. It's just one of those things of you talk to him, he just has so much knowledge on it. He just points you in such different directions depending on what you're looking at. It's just oh, okay. So I do have a small portion of it, but it's one of those things of I don't have a whole lot of it, but it is a nice one to hold for a long time just because they're so diverse in everything. It's just okay, let's do this.
That's right.
Hey, welcome to the live stand. Thanks for stopping by. SCHD, that's a very popular one in the DivTwit community. Obviously, it's a U.S. stock. Actually, we didn't get around to Patrick. Did we talk about what your biggest gainer has been, or your biggest dividend raise, or anything?
Well, it would have been Brookfield Asset Management. So I held BAM before the split, Then it got converted into BN, and I also was able to get some, I guess a quarter of the shares in BAM, which was the asset management, the pure play. And that's the one where I've just, I haven't touched it, haven't looked at it, and let it ride, and it's up about 50% since the original split. So that's pretty cool. I didn't have enough, obviously. You never have enough, right?
No.
But just you never know what Bruce Flatt is up to. It's so hard to understand the whole Brookfield machine. But I think it's a solid bet, and I think most of my losses, or after selling Silogist, I've luckily got into Brookfield right before that split.
Well, Brooke is so young too. Sorry, Bruce. Sorry, not Brooke. Bruce is so young in comparison to other CEOs of companies like that. And I think he's been there for over 20 years anyway. When they started it, I believe. I can't remember off the top of my head. Anthony showed me so much resources that I'm forgetting some of it now. But I think he has such a good head for this type of for that type of investment. I think it's only going to show amazing growth. Like, it kind of worried me when they faulted on 2 of their loans just of recent in the States. Like, I don't know if you guys seen that. So that threw me off a little bit, but I believe it was obviously for a reason. And I think the longevity of that company is solid. I'm not concerned about it. It's probably one of my safest individual holdings for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Jeremy is still in the chat, but I was actually I was in the chat on one of Russ's live streams, and Jeremy was on that, and I know Jeremy's a fan of Brookfield as well. So I know, interesting that some of our American friends are looking at Brookfield in a very positive light as well.
The Berkshire of Canada is often what it gets compared to. Nice.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison.
Yeah, that's what I keep reading every time I look it up, and I'm like, you know what? I'll take that. Like, that's it's pretty solid.
I'm sure Anthony's posted that somewhere once or twice too.
I think so.
I'm sure he has.
Probably where I've seen it.
I did want to get back to Craig's comment. Not his comment. Well, he was just, "What's up, guys?" But obviously, he is the biggest CHD stan, and that is also one of the most popular ETFs, American ETFs in the DivTwit community. I guess just any thoughts on either that ETF or anything else in the U.S. market that we might want to talk about and discuss.
SCHD also makes up around 20% of my portfolio. Honestly, I absolutely love it. It's the way I get my most exposure. I have VFV or VU, but for more US exposure. But SCHD is just almost uncomparable. Honestly, it's my entire RRSPs is put into that, and I'm not even slightly worried about it. Even if I'm planning on purchasing a house within the next 1 to 2 years, using my RRSP funds, I'll just liquidate that. And SCHD is like such a comfortable holding for me that I'm not concerned that it's going to tank or anything like that. Plus, really healthy dividend quarterly. As of now, it's only, well, I don't know off the top of my head how much I'm making off it, but a decent amount. Like, it's coming to be one of my favorite ETFs, Canadian or US.
Well, for sure. If you look at the top 10 holdings or even top 15 holdings within the SEHD ETF, it's just, you're like, great company, great company, great company, great company. Just right down, that, and the list just goes on and on, right? So
I just pulled some stats on SCHD. So you got 46.95 billion in assets under management. You got 103 holdings, 19.75% in financial services. You got 15.7% in industrials, 15 in consumer defensive, 14% in technology, 13.6 in healthcare, 7.2 in consumer cyclical, 5 in communications, 5 energy. I'm rounding it out right now. 3 in basic materials, and 0.38% in utilities. So you got a well-rounded just bag of companies in there, and it's all mostly American companies. You got 99% that are American.
Very diverse too. Like, you're not gonna, if one certain market is taking a hit or something like that, SCHD isn't going to feel it the same way as even VDY. It has, I think, 50% into finance, for example. If the financial market in Canada takes a hit, that ETF is going to take a hit, for example. Dave, you should check out that question there that Stan just asked.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up. Have you started your U.S. stock investment yet? Are you going with SCHD? So no, I have not started it yet. And yes, I probably 99.9% will start with SCHD for the reasons we've just discussed here. Like Patrick just went down that list, extremely diversified. Like Nathan just said, if one of those companies gets into trouble, the ETF itself isn't going to really feel the pain of that one company or two even, right? Or
Yeah.
Probably even several of them. The ETF itself is going to be fine overall.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's sort of when I get around to it, and I will.
Slowly but surely. Yeah, I do own a small portion of SCHD as well. It's just the same thing as Nathan. It's my RSP. The combination of my RSP is that and VFV, which is the S&P 500, is just like, yep, I'm comfortable letting that run till the end, pretty much.
Yeah, honestly, like no fears holding that. You can see my cat in the background there through the jumping up in the window. Cat's making an appearance.
How do you beat 3.4% current yield plus 14 dividend growth?
You don't.
Yeah.
No. I thought this
especially with something
that's Canadian podcast.
Yeah, no, we can get back into talking about Canadian for sure. Yeah, kind of odd that the four of us all being Canadian, and I think everyone in the chat right now is American. So a little bit of back and forth, and we'll just see where the conversation takes us, I guess.
That's right.
Exposure.
Great exposure.
For sure.
I'm pulling up news. I'm trying to find some Canadian news here.
There you go. Okay, I'm going to do oh my gosh. I'm going to do a plug. I'm working on a book still right now. I'm aiming for about 20,000 words. I'm at like 15,000 words right now. It's going to come out in 2 months. You guys should stay tuned and check it out when it comes out. Because it's going to be amazing. Not to toot my own horn, but toot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm working on it pretty hard. It's going to go into depth about like investing biases and talking about different emotions and why you shouldn't have emotions. And then also a lot about certain mistakes I've made in the past with emotions and stuff like that. And then even touching on like taxes and different topics like that as well. Really excited for it, but I'm making sure that I spend my time slowly doing it because I'm not rushing it or anything like that. And that's the shameless plug I wanted to put myself in.
Hey, well, you know what? While we're doing the shameless self plugs, we'll throw one out to Patrick here, who is the brains behind the Buy Investing shirts. And I have a link with code word Posse. I know you also have a link with is it code word
Dividend King TSX now, I believe, is my newest one.
Right. So this link will be in the description. And as everybody knows, I've got the Passive Income Posse collection and the Dividends t-shirt here. So definitely check that out. Patrick's got some great designs over there, the Dividends collection, and ball caps and toques, or if you want to call them beanies, and coffee mugs and all sorts of anything else you have over there, Patrick?
I think I've since we last talked, I've been working real hard, but the dividend collections is slowly growing, and I think there's a bit of everything for everyone. And I've also been doing some custom requests. So if anybody has any idea or wants something done that's not already there, well, you could always slide into my DMs and we can make something happen.
I love that. I had Dividend Hero on the podcast earlier this week, and we were talking. I just kind of randomly off the top of my head said, I'll need to get in touch with Patrick to make one for you. And then like an hour after that podcast came out, you're like, here you go.
There's a solid design as well.
Yeah,
Thank
because it
you.
had his name, Dividend Hero, but the Costco logo. It was great.
So yeah,
Um,
it's just a culmination of time wasted on Illustrator with a little bit of passion for investing that started this project. So I think it's a good way to put it out there because there's a lot of financial literacy that's just non-existent, and if we start promoting, being part of the dividend income club, or just talk about it, or wear shirts, drink, have a mug at the office or something like that. Well, I think we could get talking about our I guess, hobby,
Mhm.
or our passion a lot easier. We could start opening conversations. I'm sure, Dividend King, with your sweater, there's a few people that are gonna start wondering what you're up to.
That's right. Yeah, for sure.
Steve, shameless self plug. Anything? You got anything?
You know what? I really wish someone would have given me a heads up on that because I have no shameless self plug. Like, I don't have anything that I can plug like that. Like, Nathan, I'm excited to read your book. I have an order actually that I want to put out for a t-shirt. I want to buy
All
my
right.
girlfriend the only ETF t-shirt. I don't know if she's gonna actually be too happy that I get her that, but I think it's gonna be funny. I'll pay for that one later, obviously. But like, you guys have some good stuff out there, and I have
And
done some shopping. And
just a shout out to Dividend King. That's actually, it was one of his ideas. That he's the one that reached out to me as soon as we started the project, and he's like, "Hey, you need to make one of these." And I think within 20 minutes, he had his shirt.
Yeah,
That
I
was
was looking
the
for it.
the
I,
only ETFs that is like a take on the OnlyFans logo.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
it's
funny.
solid. It's such a funny shirt. I'll be right back. You guys keep
Yeah.
talking.
And funny story behind that. I think I get a DM right afterwards, and there was somebody that copied the design, because as soon as he posted it up, somebody copied the design and wrote it in the comments, and it was like, obviously a screenshot of the T-shirt, and it was just thrown onto another shirt, so it looked so ridiculous and out of place. It was like in giant letters in the middle of the shirt, like on your belly. But I guess imitation is the best form of flattery.
That's right.
But
Within minutes,
Something
though,
like
they had that made.
no, exactly. It's like, and then I went on their profile to start looking it up, and it was exactly that. They were commenting every design or shirt thing out there, and you gotta respect the hustle, man.
I'm sure
But,
your girlfriend will love
Yep.
it, Steve.
I hope she will. I hope she'll take it like with a light-heartedly joke, but I don't know.
but there are other designs.
It could be a risky proposition.
There are other designs that are ETF focused that might be a little bit that won't make you sleep on
Less
the couch.
controversy. Less
Yeah.
controversial.
Yeah,
I-
it just seems like too perfect of a shirt to pass up the opportunity. It's like, come on.
I don't think that futon and backy looks too comfortable to sleep on.
I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world I've slept on, so
It's
it helps when I
yeah,
have long days at the office.
There you
I'd rather buy index funds than buy a good bed to sleep in, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Question from Craig. What is your absolute favorite Canadian dividend stock?
That's a
Who
tough
wants
one.
to start on that one?
Stock or ETF as well? Just strictly
Well,
stock?
actually, further up in the chat, I don't know if you guys have been reading the chat here. Tim and Craig had a little back and forth. Let's find a Canadian ETF like SCHD, where Tim said SCHY would be the closest at the moment. He figures, and then so this question, I think, let's go back to individual stock. What is your absolute favorite Canadian dividend stock?
Right now,
Okay.
BM.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, for individual stock, Brookfield, for sure. Brookfield Corporation, without a doubt. And then for ETF, VDY, the Canadian High Dividend Yield. Those are definitely my top two for individual and ETF.
Patrick,
I'd
favorite?
go with any rail line, so either the one in your backyard, Dave, or the one I've invested in, Canadian Pacific. I'm kind of torn. Rail, which is pretty much what made Canada what it is nowadays, and also America. Shout out to all the rail fans out there. but the Canadian banks as well. So I'd go for my bank, Royal Bank, or any. We could fight about this until the end of the podcast. What
right.
bank's better? So I'm torn between those two companies.
So the rail across the road, just outside that window, there's a triple track of CN, Canadian National. But then just across the field from that, there is a single CP line as well. So
Good.
Oh wow.
And hopefully that one goes all the way down to Mexico soon with that merger.
yeah, I haven't been following how that merger's been going. I know it's been going on for a long time now. Like right from it was a year ago when the two of them, CN and CP, were both trying to buy what was it called? Kansas City, Kansas something, Kansas
Yeah,
Southern,
Kansas Southern. I'm actually
right?
pulling it out. I think I'm gonna get this one wrong. The the holdee of the trust. So the CEO of Kansas Rail Line recently passed away. So he wasn't CEO anymore because he held the shares in trust. And I really hope this article loads by the time I'm done this. But yeah, so this is gonna cause a little bit more delays. There was obviously already delays with the transportation board and for the competition bureau. Similar to what Rogers and Shaw is going through right now as well. But it seems like hopes are high because there has been a lot of staff that were hired in expecting this merger to happen. But I think we won't know until the papers actually get signed. But it's looking like it's going to happen. But what do I know? I'm just a kid with a cell phone that invests.
Right.
But there's other people that obviously know a lot more what's happening. But yeah, I mean, it looks all right. But it's just with the death of the trust holder, it's gonna take a while for them to find somebody else to be able to continue this merger and the acquisition process.
And around to you, Steve. Favorite Canadian dividend stock or ETF or both?
Well, technically, my favorite ETF would be VFV, which would be the S&P 500. I love that one. VDY, like I mentioned before. But if I had to pick a single one, it would probably be Fortis, to be honest. Like, you have 49 years of growth, 49 years of dividend income growth. Just super stable utility company that everyone needs utilities to go around. So to me, I take a look at that. You look at the balance sheet; it just consistently rises. Like they're doing great stuff with their earnings. It's just one of those things of, okay, you can feel confident buying into that company and knowing that, hey, you don't really have to worry about it. Like utilities, people aren't gonna suddenly shut off their utilities and stop using them. Like, no, we're just gonna keep growing. I just looked over and I saw the cat sitting in Nathan's lap, and I was like, oh, that's different. But yeah, Fortis for me would be probably my favorite. That, and then I think like Patrick said, you could sit there and we could have a debate all day about which bank is our favorite. Like TD, RY. You could set those are two of my favorites. National Bank is up there too, just because everyone likes to talk about that one right now. But there's just so many different ones. You could play in the telecoms if you want. You could play in some of the REITs. There's just so many great companies around. But yeah, Fortis would probably be at the top of my list for a single pick. Brookfield would be probably pretty close right behind it as well, though.
Fortis
great answers, guys.
Status. Almost dividend king status in the U.S. rules, at least for Fortis. Yeah. Hey, like that's 50 years. That's wild.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about the home bias. What do you guys think about and what is your I guess your currency bias? I don't have it. I wouldn't have this data for me, but I mean, I'm curious to know, like, do you guys mostly have Canadian stocks, or because that is the biggest problem is that we're going to be so affected by the fluctuations of the Canadian currency. What's your opinion, guys?
Yeah, so I'll jump in there first because I know a lot of people have heard me say this is probably the number one reason why I have everything in the Canadian market right now is because of that exchange rate, right? It just doesn't make sense to me to try to buy US stocks when for us to get $1 we need to spend $1.30 or $1.35 Canadian, right? And
right.
all of us being in Canada, I'm sure we all make Canadian dollars at our day jobs. So that's just my personal opinion is right now I don't want to be paying that exchange rate. You know, I've been around a lot longer than you guys. I've seen the Canadian dollar go up and down a lot more than you guys have. I've seen it go above the US dollar twice in my lifetime, right? In the 70s and then again in the mid 2000s. So if the Canadian dollar got back up to say 85 cents on the dollar, that's when it starts to make more sense to me. That's
It's
again
more appealing at
my
that rate.
opinion, right? Not financial advice, but my personal opinion.
No, for sure. For me, I have mostly Canadian, but like I do invest VFV, like to track the S&P 500. That's probably my fourth biggest holding. SCHD being my second biggest holding, and then I have a emerging market ETF as well, which is I think my seventh or eighth biggest holding right now. So I do try to keep it diverse in that aspect, while still mostly investing in Canadian dollars to avoid any conversion fees or anything like that. The only reason why I was doing SCHD actually is because the plan that I had with RBC was a group RSP plan, and I got reimbursed the fees. So I was like, well, it's a no-brainer to just buy it because I'm basically getting it for the same rate anyway. I didn't really have to pay a huge, like I paid the conversion obviously, but I wasn't paying any additional fees on top of it or anything like that. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me to do it at the time. But definitely try to keep most of my dollars in Canadian for the same reason as Dave was saying there. It's just, I feel like I'm just throwing my money away when I'm converting it right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, the same thing as Nathan. Pretty much the only thing I have in American currency would be SCHD, but other than that, I use the S&P 500 or the VFV to track it, and then I just use VUN to track the states and a little bit of, I think it's VIU for the international index, like a little bit of that. But on that, there is a little bit of a bias, currency bias in my portfolio as well. Like it is mostly Canadian stuff. I do have like I said, that small portion of American funds, but on that it's mostly Canadian funds. It's just easier not to get caught in the currency conversion trap. I know you can't do Norbert's Gambit on it, but it's one of those things of just like I would rather kind of tackle out the rest of my portfolio first to get to where I want to go, and then I'll start allocating maybe a little bit more to transition over.
And you guys are all young too. All of you have so much more time, right? Like, you know, watch where that currency goes up and down over the next 25 years, right?
Yeah, that's right. Time's our greatest asset right now, honestly, in my opinion, at least.
Well, for you guys, it's my biggest enemy.
I was able to pull it up through a stock tracking app, but I got 59% in Canadian of my holdings and 38% in US and 2.8 other. So whatever that would be. So I'm trying to have some assets in Canadian and a lot of holdings in the US just to have that, just to be, you know, worldwide for that exposure. I know in the US, most companies in the US do business worldwide as well. So I feel like I get the advantage by, you know, just being as spread out as possible that way.
I'm going to circle back to that absolute favorite Canadian dividend stock because I actually didn't get to answer that question. So I'm going to put my 2 cents in there.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's okay. So, well, as everyone knows, one of my favorites is Ryokan. But with that said, that's, you know, we could kind of break it down into the different sectors. I would say that's my favorite REIT. And I agree with you guys. We could talk all day about what Canadian bank is your favorite. For me, I invest in Bank of Nova Scotia, and I'm sure you guys have heard me say before, the number one reason is because that happens to be the bank that has the mortgage on my house. So it's my strategy of turn the cash register around, right? I just get them to pay me, to pay them. I'm a long way away from having enough shares to cover my mortgage, but, you know, dollar cost average and just keep picking away at it.
That's right.
And you guys also mentioned the telecoms. So same thing with the turn your cash register around strategy of Bell. I know you can kind of argue, well, Bell has a lot of debt, but at the same time, you know, that dividend raise was kind of surprising because of the amount of debt they had. But you know what? I'm going to take the raise. I didn't ask for it.
Yep.
I love not having to ask my boss for a raise. They just give it to me anyway.
That's right.
For not working for them, right? Like win-win.
When's that T-shirt coming out? Turn the cash register around. Hey, Patrick.
I've tried it. I've worked on it. I'm not satisfied with it yet. I did a few revisions, but it's in the works.
Perfect.
Whenever that one's ready, Patrick, let me know. I would like one of those ones.
That's a
Gotcha.
solid
You'll be the first to know after Dividend Dave.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Just throw me on the same chain as him.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then another one, I guess, along that same line, not necessarily one of my favorites, but just I guess it's just Steve and I in Ontario, but Hydro One, like, I mean, how do you argue with Hydro One in Ontario? It's like 95 or 97% of Ontarians, depend on Hydro One for their electricity. So, and again, I pay my bill to Hydro One, so turn the cash register around.
And I mean, it's the easiest way for, other than ETFs, of course, which is the easiest way. But if you're someone else who's looking to do something from an individual dividend portfolio perspective, you can take a look at it and you go, okay, what are the companies that I'm paying on a regular basis? And we kind of mentioned it, like, Dave, your mortgage with BNS, which is Bank of Nova Scotia. So like your utilities is Hydro One, your gas, I'm going to take a wild guess and say it's likely with Enbridge, like mine. So it's kind of one of those things of, okay, you could take a look to see where you're paying out, and you could take a look and you go, if I'm paying it out and I know that I have friends that are also paying their mortgages to these companies too, then you could take a look and go, maybe there's a way that I can get some money back by owning a piece of this company. Because if you know that everyone else is going to be paying them, odds are that you can probably find a way to get some cash back out of it.
Right.
Similar along the lines of investing what you know, investing what you use. Like for new investors, that's something I fully recommend and fully preach. Like, for example, that's similar to TELUS, for example. My phone is with TELUS. That was one of my largest holdings before I kind of reevaluated and went into ETFs mostly. But like you just said, Steve, if somebody is using it, if you're using it and you have friends who are using it, they're collecting money, that they're a strong company in the sense where not everybody, but a lot of people use their whatever they make, you know what I mean? If you shop at Walmart every day or Dollarama every day, for example, it's probably a good bet that you can invest in Walmart or Dollarama, and knowing that you are one of their many customers, you're going to get something back out of that. And it's kind of more rewarding in that aspect.
Yeah, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, those are prime examples of that. Like, go into your bathroom and turn the package around and see how many have one of those 3 logos on it. Probably everything in your medicine cabinet and a lot of things in your pantry or whatever in your kitchen will have one of those logos on it as well. Or General Mills, maybe more in your kitchen, or Kellogg's or something like that. But yeah, it's literally I've had other guests on the podcast said they've literally done that. Just went through their house and turned the package around and kind of realized, oh wow, I buy a lot from this company. Maybe I should invest in this company.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild because you don't actually realize it until someone points it out and you start going to take a look through your own stuff and you go, oh yeah, like I do have a lot of this. Like I do have a lot of Johnson & Johnson. Like you take a look at your toothpaste, your deodorant, your body wash, just in the bathroom itself. Like you take a look and you go, oh okay, like there is a little bit of commonality here that maybe there's a way to get a little something out of it.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Could I just say something about that? It's great, that we talk about this. I think we're all kind of well versed into investing and buy what you know, but buy what you know if it's a good deal.
Yeah.
There's something that we all have in our pantries, especially us Canadians. It's Kraft Heinz. Anybody's got Kraft Dinner or mac and cheese in the US. But that merger, there was a merger in 2015, and Berkshire Hathaway purchased about 26% of Kraft Heinz, and that stock, the share price just took a huge hit. They took a 15.4 billion write down on cheese in 2019. So this is one of Berkshire's, Warren Buffett says it's one of his worst mistakes that he's ever done. And they're recently, what they do is they buy companies. They don't look at the prices, more than they have to. They did admit their mistake, but they didn't sell it. But recently, it's been slowly coming back up, and they've been starting praising the company. Like the whole Buffett crew have been praising them. But it's just something to watch out for. It's not always buy what you know or buy what you use, So. Just to not burn any new investors here, just be careful with that.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, Patrick. Like, it's a great starting point to, go through your house and look at what companies are there, but then obviously, do your own research, do your own due diligence, and And
Make
like you
the
just said,
value.
even Warren Buffett can make a mistake. So
Mhm.
And I mean, if he's prone to mistakes, we're definitely prone to mistakes too. Then.
Isn't that right?
yeah, he's only been doing this for what, 70 years, right? So
He's got a little bit of time on his
Yeah,
side.
just a little bit.
Dividend stockpile, I agree. VDY, one of the best Canadian ETFs for
yeah,
sure.
I mean,
Like
just about to bring that up.
without doubt. Or at least in my opinion. Like obviously everyone will have their own opinion for what appeals to them most. But I mean that's my largest holding. I'm not worried about it at all. The MER is a little high, honestly. Like I think I can't remember off the top of my head anyway, but
0.25.
yeah. So I mean like a little steep for an ETF in comparison to other ones that Vanguard hosts and even other companies host. But I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons when it comes to that one.
I would totally agree. And I got a question for Nathan, actually, if we can go on a quick little tangent here. So
Sure.
you've been doing the $1 a week into the TSX. Do you want to explain why you've been doing that? I think it's a great idea. I like the consistency of it, but I want to hear it from you, just so others can hear it too.
I got it from somebody else who was doing. And I feel bad that I can't remember the name. I want to say it was Dairyland on Twitter. He was doing SCHD, where you buy $1 more every single week into SCHD. Basically, the goal is at the end of the year. Well, for example, week 1 of the year, you buy $1. Week 2, you buy $2. Week 3, continuing all the way down to 52. The goal is at the end of the year, you'll have, I think it's $1,346 or something like that in the company, and it's extremely easy to just. I mean, $1 is not hard to invest. It's a really easy way to kick it off. And then even still, we're 9 weeks in, so I just did my 9th purchase. And it accumulates so much faster than what you realize, but it's such a small amount that it's even $52. Like you can, even if you're
find $52 somewhere.
Yeah, even if you're struggling with money. Well, I mean, full disclosure, I haven't worked since the beginning of this last month, right? I'm still able to. It's $9. It's not like it's gonna break the bank or anything like that to throw it in. So it's really easy. It's an easy way to accumulate shares. This cat, I swear. It's a really easy way to accumulate shares and kind of just not really think about it or not really worry about it. Plus, you're not trying to time the market in any aspect. You're just slowly
averaging.
Yep, exactly. Slowly buying when you can. I personally do it every Friday morning, just because that's when I've been doing it. Yeah, I just think it's a good way to just get into the market. And if you aren't sure like when to invest or anything like that, I think it's just a really simple way just to jump into it and start doing it. That's why I was doing it, at least.
Yeah, just Tim here saying it's Disney Beach that was doing that.
I wish I
was SDHD challenge.
I love the consistency of it that you have. Like it's like you said, it's a simple plan of like, hey, okay, like I can find $1. You go lift the pillow, the cushions on the couch, you can find $1. Like
that's right.
It's one of those things of you won't actually notice how much it actually is. Like, okay, it's $1 this week, or it's $1 in week 1. Now I think you just said it was $9 week 9.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like you said, anyone can likely find $9. If you can't find $9, I'm sure there's plenty of things in people's houses that you can sell for a couple dollars to get there. And it's just one of those things of like, okay, it doesn't have to be a great amount, but it's just having that consistency and building that habit that, okay, you realize it's okay, this is actually possible. You start to see it pick up some steam after a while. And like you said, week 9 is $9. And it's like, okay, that like I'm getting a little bit. And then fast forward a couple weeks, you get $30. It's like, okay, we can do this. And then you get to $50. It's like, okay, we can do this. And then I don't know about you. Are you going to keep wrapping it around to next year? I don't know if that's too far ahead or.
I'm going to pick a different ETF each year, I think, and just keep doing it. Because, I mean, like I said, you get roughly $1,300 at the end of the year invested, not including reinvested dividends or price appreciation. Mm-hmm. That's just the strict amount of dollars that you're putting into it. What a solid way to build a foundation. Like, in any ETF, really, like even if you already hold a good amount of that ETF, which I did already hold a bunch of the ETF before I was starting to buy it. But it creates that foundation, especially for new investors who aren't 100% sure. Like or worried about investing or anything like that. It creates a solid foundation. And I started investing in 2022 or 2020, but more heavy into ETFs at the end of 2021. So I'm still in my accumulation phase for sure. Like I've only been investing for 3 years right now. So even for me, it's a great way to accumulate very easily. And like Tim just said, a great and fun way to invest. Like it just takes I don't want to say the emotions out of it, but it takes the stress out of it. I don't have to think about it every Friday, just $1 extra, which, like you said, anyone can find an extra $1 a week, even up to $52. Like it's, if I needed to, I would go shovel 2 driveways. You know what I mean? Like anyone can think of something when it comes down to it.
And I mean, in Canada, that's pretty easy to do, to go shove a couple
That's right.
driveways.
Pretty much 8 months of the year.
Yeah.
In Alberta for 8 months of the year.
Yeah, northern Alberta here.
I was going to mention too, like Steve mentioned, couch cushions. The vehicle is a great place. I can guarantee you right now I could go and find 4 quarters, a couple loonies, a toonie in my truck right now for sure, right?
Careful, you're using words that the U.S. don't know what you're talking about there, toonies and loonies.
I did that purposely.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Pat.
Sorry, guys. Hey, that was all.
Sorry,
like same thing for people with on the truck thing. You go take a look at the cars that go through drive-thrus. If you're not paying with your card, a lot of people just keep the change in what used to be the ashtray in their car. You just keep the yeah. There's change to be found everywhere. Like again, it doesn't have to be a great nominal sum. Like we're not saying okay, you got to go get $1,000. Like no, start with something small that's comfortable and then build into it. It's the only way that you'll get exposure is to start with something small, gain a little bit of experience, and then like I said, it becomes a game. You gamify it, it gets a lot of fun after a while.
With that said, if you do have $1,000. Right? If you have $1,000, that's great too, right?
Yep.
Oh, 100%. But for people, just starting out, like it's perfect. Like it's not stressful in any way. It's almost like automatic at this point where I just like I have reminders set up on my phone for every Thursday night where I just place my order that night. And it's just it is kind of fun, honestly. Like it just takes the stress out of it and I don't have to worry about it and I accumulate great ETFs.
And I'm sure you guys have heard me use what I call the Moneyball reference too. Just get on base, and that's exactly what you guys are talking about. Just get started. Just get on base.
Yeah.
Get hit by a pitch. Just get hit by a pitch and take your base, right?
Yeah, that's right. Take your walk. What frustrates me is when I hear a lot of the time people are like, "Oh, well, like I want to invest, but I don't have enough money. I'm waiting until I get like $1,000 saved." And it's like, why? What do you? $1, like just invest your first dollar, get into it, start doing it now. You will not regret it. Like, and every time you invest even $1, it might be minimal, but that dollar is now working for you. That's less that you have to do to make even more money. I don't care.
Is a lot more than 0.
That's right. And it only goes up from there. Sure, the stock price might go down, but if you have a timeline of even 5 years, but 5 to 25 years, you're not going to be hurted. Like this is based off the S&P, but there's no period of the S&P 500 over a 20-year span where it's negative. Right. Like you can pick anywhere and go 20 years in the future and it's a positive gain. At least I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that.
No, but I'm sure you're correct.
Yeah, okay.
I'd agree with that statement.
Right. So if you have a 20-year timeline, you shouldn't, not that you shouldn't be scared of investing, because obviously like a lot of people are skeptic of it, especially after 07, 08 and everything like that. But it really is like almost a no-brainer. Like you really should be doing it and getting your money to work for you, not against you.
Yeah. And I'm sure we've all kind of met people who are in further along positions than us in our life that are maybe they're at the retirement phase, and you ask them kind of like you want to learn the little tidbits that they can give you that would help. And sometimes you'll talk to some people who are fairly well off, and they'll say, you know what, I don't know a single person that said that they regretted investing. Like I don't know anyone who says, like, you know what, I wish I would have spent more money. Well, actually, no. There's a lot of people that would say they would have spent more money, but like no one would say, hey, like I wish I couldn't have put maybe a couple more dollars away and stuff.
Oh, there's a cute kid. Yeah. So to that point, Steve, a couple past guests, Sandstone Davey and Barry Milligan, both excellent guests in that, FIRE achievement, right? The financial independence, retire early. and sort of exactly what you're talking about. They didn't come on the podcast saying, I regretted investing 20, 25 years ago. They're like, starting investing 20, 25 years ago was one of the smartest things I ever did.
That's right.
And then, kind of what we're talking about, you don't need $1,000. Another past guest, Master P, that was an incredible conversation because him and I are around the same age, and we're talking about like what it took to invest in the 90s and even the early 2000s and paying brokerage fees of like $50 and $60. And then when online banking became a thing in the early 2000s, the trading commission fee became $29.95 and then went down to $9.95. And so nowadays we don't, you guys don't even know how lucky you are. You can have an app on your phone with free commission, right? Like
that's right. It's easier than it's ever been to invest, and there's still so many people not taking advantage of it. I can only imagine that, like there was a lot of investors, obviously, especially since we're all in that niche when it comes to on Twitter and everything like that. But I can imagine if you threw half the people that are in the financial niche right now back in time, like 20 years, they wouldn't have the same drive as they do right now because of how easy it is. You know what I mean?
Hey, let's bring Patrick back into the conversation.
Yeah, you've been gone for a while.
I was gonna just talk about exactly what we just naturally went into as like Dividend Dave. When I'm not sure how your investment brokerages are set up, but not everybody are able to invest that $1, and at a $29.95 trading fee, investing $1 a week wasn't that likely before.
No, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't even think of doing it.
No.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that weren't able and might not be able the way it's set up. Like that's why I have a Wealthsimple account and I'm investing with through my bank, just because there's advantages on both sides. And I think that's we're really lucky to be able to do fractional buys in Canada because that is not a thing before.
No, definitely not. So odds are good we all use Wealthsimple. I have the app installed on my phone. Nathan's nodding his head. Steve, probably. No, you don't use Wealthsimple?
No, I use Questrade. Yeah, I use
that's
Questrade. I'm on the flip side from all you guys, but I do know people who use Wealthsimple and they say the exact same thing that you guys do. And it's like you just can't beat how easy it is.
No,
and
right.
when you with Questrade, I'm pretty sure it's the same with Wealthsimple. Pretty much commission free trade in ETFs.
ETFs, yes. Individual stocks, isn't it like $5.99 or something like that?
Yeah, $4.95. Anyways, $5.
Like,
so it's one of those things like, okay, like going back to when Dave started, $29 a trade. It's like, oh my god, like how can we do this? And now, okay,
well, you would literally have to save up to be like, okay, I need to buy 100 shares to make this worthwhile.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, if that company, if you are lucky enough to find a good company at say $10 a share, you're like, okay, well, that's $1,000 plus the 30, right? Like,
I think that's where the mindset came in where, I need to save up like $1,000 before I can really get into it. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand that that's not how it is anymore. And you can really get away with a lot less.
Yeah. It's like
it's literally so easy on your phone.
Yeah, it's like I can invest because I don't have a ticker tape printing machine at my house. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the times are completely different now, and everything's done on your phone. And I think Dividend King, you could even do fractional buys that are scheduled now, recurrent fractional buys.
Yeah, 100%.
So you don't have to wait till Friday. You could just have it set up and set it and forget it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's so simple. And I think just maybe it's just the lack of not excitement, but the lack of the drive. Like not a lot of people are like as into it. I'm obsessed with investing. Like it's completely consumed my life since 2020. I absolutely love it. The girlfriend's extremely annoyed about it because that's all I talk about. But I think it's so important, and especially for people around. I mean, like I'm 25, like I said, anyone around my age or any age really, it's so important for them to invest for their future. And I think there's so much illiteracy still around the topic, and that's a part of the reason why I'm writing the book, just so that hopefully I can at least get like one or two people to start investing, because it's so important. Honestly, I fully believe that it's extremely important. I never learned anything from like my parents, for example. They didn't invest or anything like that. Now I'm getting my dad to invest. I'm getting my sisters to invest. My girlfriend invests. My uncle invests. And it's all because I had that conversation with them. You know what I mean? And it's makes me feel better, obviously, as well, because it's like I'm helping people set up their future, how I look at it, at least. And I think it's so important.
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
just
great
curious.
point
Oh,
that,
sorry.
maybe she's annoyed with you right now, but when that little guy is, 20 years and you're suddenly you don't have to worry about, the college or university tuition. It's just sitting there waiting for him and
Yeah.
right? And I I know in the past, Steve and I have talked too about you trying to help some of your friends and
Yep.
some of them being like talking to a brick wall and others much more open to listening. So
Yeah, there's definitely it definitely takes a certain person to want to listen. Because like I said, I mentioned it on the podcast with Dave, and I'll just kind of do quick little gloss over. Two friends, one of them didn't really want to listen. He just wanted to know like, okay, how do I double my money in 10 days? And I was kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
like I don't know how to do that. You want to do that? Go to the casino, everything on red.
Hope for the best.
See what happens. But
Yeah.
my other buddy, like me and him, we talk now, and as you start to get into this a little bit, you start to find other people that you can talk to. And I have one buddy that I talk to multiple times a week, and we kind of talk about investments, and we talk about money, and we talk about real estate, and it's just one of those conversations that it comes natural to us. And then you go talk to some other people, and it's a lot of people don't want to talk about it because it wasn't talked about when they were kids. And you know what? That's fine. That's okay. But at a certain point, you need to maybe just broach the conversation with people. So you can't force it upon people, but it is good to kind of drop a conversation here and there, and some people will naturally start coming to you. So now I'm at the point where I had a couple friends that are like, hey, like on February 28th, which for the record, don't do your RSP investment planning on February 28th. I'm no investment planner, but it's just kind of one of those things of like, hey, we want to do this, and do you know how to do it? And I was like, yeah, like I know how to do it. Like, do you want a hand? They're like, all right, help us plan this out. And I'm like, okay, first off, I'm not a tax professional. I don't know how to, well, I do know how to do some stuff, but like I'm not licensed, but I can help you get started on the process. And it's okay. Let's start doing these small things, and then come next year you won't need my help for it because you'll have a process in place. And
Correct.
it just gets a little bit simpler every single time that you help someone, because then maybe a light bulb clicks on them and they go, oh, okay. And then they do something like Nathan's doing with, okay, let's just do $1 a week. Again, you start with these small simple processes that you can automate, and your life will become infinitely times easier. If you make hard decisions now, you'll have a really easy life later.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, the amount of people that think a TFSA is just a savings account is so sad. We're all rolling our eyes right now because we're all in the cool kids club. But like there's so much financial knowledge that is just not there. So that's that's the importance of speaking to everybody and letting them know little by little and giving them crumbs of information.
Yep.
I've said that myself so many times. The TFSA, tax-free savings account, it really should be called a tax-free investment account because, like you just said, so many people think, "Oh, I just put $500 in there and leave it."
Yeah, that's right.
Like, no, no.
That's right. I hate to cut this short, but I'm gonna have to go here right away.
Yeah, you were saying you had to cut out around this time, which is fine. I don't know if Steve and Patrick want to keep going or if we want to wrap it up, but it's been an incredible conversation, another great live panel. So I'm open to do whatever you guys want to do. If you want to keep chatting for a few more minutes, or
I'll leave it up to Patrick. I'm flexible.
I'm down.
I got a little bit more time if you want.
Perfect. Cool. Well, I just want to quickly say I really appreciate being here. I really appreciate talking with you guys. It was a great conversation. I feel like the past hour just flew by.
It always does.
Yeah, seriously. I appreciate everyone who tuned in to the chat and who were asking questions and talking and everything like that. That was really awesome. And I look forward to checking out the rest of this when it is uploaded and everything like that. And hopefully you guys don't talk about anything too cool that I missed.
Awesome. Everybody, thank you.
Let's help Dividend King get to that extra 100 followers.
Yeah, let's get him to 2,000 followers.
Real quick, I can't believe how quick all of this has happened either. Like I started really in August or July, and I'm so thankful for everyone who's followed so far. And even if I can help, like I said, two people, it makes a world of a difference for me. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
You're doing an awesome job,
Nathan.
Thank
you so much for your time. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, Dave. And I appreciate you hosting these things. It's really important to get people talking and to connect with everybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's really important.
Yeah, and on that note, kind of going back to what we were just talking about. I'll let you leave if you want to leave, but
Sounds good. I'll chat with you guys later. Have a good one.
okay. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks, Nate.
So yeah, going back to what he was talking, or what we were all talking about too, and again, me being older and that older perspective and having that conversation now, and the conversation is becoming easier. What you were saying, Steve, about being able to talk to your friends. Back in the 80s, there was no family, definitely not my family, and very few families that I would know, probably none that I knew, that would like openly talk about money. Like money was just a taboo subject. And I know to this day, it still is a taboo subject for a lot of people. But having things like the Twitter community, the DivTwit community, FinTwit community, having things like YouTube videos, having things like these types of podcasts where you're at first you're meeting more like-minded people like ourselves. Like Patrick said, we're in the cool kids club because we know, right?
Yeah,
So
it is nice. It is definitely nice, and it is one of those things of once you start to talk to more people, it just becomes infinitely easier to gain a wealth of knowledge because everyone has some type of perspective on something, and you can
Right.
always learn something from everyone. And that's the part that's the coolest thing about the DivTwit community, is just that you see everyone growing at the same time. And one of my favorite things is reading people's blog posts when they say like, oh, like their dividend income for the month. To me, the number is the number, but it's just the
I
fact
love
of
those as
seeing
well.
people make progress.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's 1 penny, $1, $100, $1,000. It's just nice to see people making progress as they go, because then you feel like you sit there and you root them on, and these people are they're doing awesome.
Everybody roots each other on.
Yeah.
And I've said that myself several times. It doesn't matter if somebody's posting, oh, I made $1 in dividends, 5,
Yeah.
10, 25, 100. Obviously, something like Dividend John and Dream, and some of them Dividend Daddy, I think, is
Yeah.
like, oh, I made $5,000 this month. I made $8,000 this month.
Yeah.
Awesome, that's great. Those are very inspirational tweets. But at the same time, those ones that are like, hey, I made $1 or $2 or $5. You know what? Those tweets are just as great and valid, because it's like, again, hey, you got on base, you got started, and like watch that snowball grow, because we know that snowball will grow.
You definitely have some people in the upper echelon like them, and you see that and you go like, oh, like $5,000, that's so incredibly hard to get to. And then you hear about how they got there, and it's like John was doing it for 20 years, and it's like, okay, like that makes sense. And then you like, one of my favorite people to follow is Graham at Reverse the Crush. Like, I've seen his progress go from, okay, he's doing a couple dollars, now it's up to almost $100, and he's making that progress. And it's one of those things of like, I will always be one of his biggest supporters, because it's nice to see people grow like that. And then you take a look on the other side, you take a look at Bob Lay from Talka, and like he started with a couple $100, now he's up to a couple $1,000 a month. And Mark Seed's a great person to follow his information, and he has a great website at My Own Advisor. That's my shameless plug of the episode for Mark. But there's just
shameless plug for someone else.
Exactly. I'll never shameless plug myself. It's just, I'm not that kind of person. It's just, there's so many interesting people in the community that you can go and learn from. And like you said, no one's doing it to flex on you that, oh, like I made $8,000 this month. Like, it's nothing compared to you. It's like, no, like someone got there by doing something. There's a process that went into it, and you can learn how to do that process and replicate it. It'll be a lot easier. And that's what I really liked Devin John's book about, basically having the ATM in your living room. I really liked that. It was a very simple process, and it was very easy to grasp. And it was one of those things of like, yeah, this is easy. Anyone can kind of get on board with this.
Yeah, and John
I got an ATM in my living room, but there's this white van that's been like in front of my house for the last week since I got it. So I think I've been doing something wrong here.
Have you found the die pack yet?
No, I haven't. But like all the bills are, I'm worried about getting them a different color. I don't want them to be blue. No, but it's crazy how the inflation is going up. Like, I think, and a lot of people that are into investing right now, we were kind of thinking about it creeping up and all that. But like, there was a poll by RBC, and it says that we're much less confident today. Like, our generation, I guess what would be considered millennials, where 18% are confident in their financial future, and that's down 30% from a year earlier. So like, people are actually feeling it, and we were getting free money printed out during during the COVID times of the curb, and people were going out buying skidoos with it, for during the summer months. So like it's being next to like-minded people is really important to like just reinforce that. And I think I'm able to put it more into words than I was able to before. As you know, when I bought all the things I was able to afford that I wasn't able to before when I was younger. Like I'm feeling it now, and if I would have known that, if I would have had that knowledge before, I think I would have been a lot better ahead than I am now, which, you could always look back and say, oh, woe is me. But if you surround yourself with these people, or with this community, that's the best way to jet set your financial future. And it's really a hockey stick pattern, I'm going to plug that one in. But you start investing and it's not that much in dividends that you're getting, and slowly it ramps up, and you're looking, just like you guys were saying, with other people with bigger accounts, and they're posting their wins, and like you see the progress. The first $100,000 is a bitch, like Charlie Munger would say, but it's once you cross that threshold, it gets easier, and then you're just gonna reap those benefits.
Yeah, it does get a lot of fun after that point, I will say, because then it gets to the point of like, oh, it started off, it was like, okay, if you took a look at your portfolio every day and if you had emotion on it, you would look at it and go, oh, God, like I lost $1,000 today. Like, oh my God, like what's happening? But if you take the perspective of looking at it from the long-term horizon, you zoom out and you can slowly taper back emotion. You look at it and go, okay, same thing that Nathan was talking about with the S&P 500, like 20-year rolling averages never been negative. You take a look and you go, okay, well, if it's going to be positive, then just slowly build a process. Like a couple bucks here and there, you don't really have to worry about it. Like don't check your portfolio every day if you don't want to. If you can't handle it, don't do it. I don't do it anymore. Used to do it when I was younger because I thought, oh, I'll be a millionaire overnight. No one's doing that. And if you are doing that, someone's probably coming after you for something. So just do a small, simple process.
Pay yourself first, right? Like every paycheck, every 2 weeks. Obviously, some weeks, like me personally, my first paycheck of the month goes primarily to bills. First thing I do is pull out 50 or 100, and then my second paycheck, okay, bills are paid, I can put a few 100 into my brokerage account, right? So it's pay yourself first and just keep going.
We're definitely part of I would say the financial mutant community, I guess, is we're those people that our favorite bill to pay when our paycheck comes in is to pay ourselves. And I don't know about you guys, but like I get so excited by that. It's like a kid on Christmas 26 times a year. It's like, oh my God, like let's go. I get more to go play with. Well, play with, invest with. Same thing. But it's just one of those things that like it gets fun after a while. It really does. And you don't realize it, but after a while, your contributions are going to get dwarfed by your returns and your interest and your dividends in the future. It might not happen now, might not happen in year 10, might not happen until year 20, might happen in 25, 30, 35, 40. But eventually there's going to be that crossover point where it won't really matter what you've contributed because it'll just get dwarfed on the back end. But just having that process of starting earlier will allow that crossover point to come a little bit sooner. And that's the really fun part. Is that, like I said, when you talk to older people and they give you the tidbits and the knowledge and you just go, yeah, like if you look at their system and you go, yeah, it's pretty easy to replicate.
Exactly. Circling back to Patrick's point about inflation too, when you see every single, the Royal Canadian Mint and whatever it's called in the U.S. Federal Reserve, maybe, or do they have a mint? But basically every first world country was just printing money like crazy, and literally the only result that can come from that is massive inflation, which we saw basically happen a year and a half to 2 years later. And so I mean, the majority of people in the know, like ourselves, or obviously economists, watching the mints print all of this money, like everybody had to have known what was going to happen. Like there's no other possible result. There isn't, right?
The bill comes due eventually. Like I don't think anyone could have the same perspective. You couldn't sit there and look at, okay, we're giving away trillions of dollars. Nothing bad's going to happen. You pumped trillions of dollars into the economy. Like obviously something's going to break. Like you saw the houses. I know, Dave, we kind of talked a little bit our way. Houses have gone stupidly crazy. Patrick, I'm sure houses have gone stupidly crazy in Canada your way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they have. And they're still, I think they still look pretty expensive, but it's just, you know, like the due diligence the banks are doing now is just ridiculous. Like I'm pretty much gonna have to, you know, to give a lung if I want to have a mortgage now. I mean, I don't know. I haven't tried. Yeah, you know, since I purchased 3 years ago. But I'm sure that once it's time for my mortgage renewal, because us in Canada, it's 5-year terms. We don't have the option to do anything longer than that. But once it's time to renew, that's where I'm going to feel it. So right now, I'm not really feeling it. It's worrying because you know, groceries are more expensive, and we can't go out to the restaurant as much as we can anymore.
Mhm.
But I'm going to feel it soon, but not now. And this is the same thing with all these companies we're investing in. We're going to, you know, if everything's looking fine right now, but we have to be careful not to do these crazy bets because, you know, well, what would you think, Dave?
Yeah, so the grocery bill and circling back to what Steve said earlier about paying Enbridge, I actually don't pay Enbridge. I have propane here. I'm in a rural area, so I have a propane furnace, and the propane has just been absolutely crazy this winter. You know, and I don't. It's not like I have my house heated up to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Like I set my thermostat at between 64 and 66, right, and turn it down when I'm at work. So, you know, it's not like I'm, you know, it's not like my house is hot by any stretch of the imagination, but the propane bills just keep coming. And yeah, the grocery bills are enormous. Um, Real estate, I'm a little worried about because actually in my area, and I know in other parts of maybe not so much in the big cities like Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Ottawa, but and Calgary, I guess as well. But you know, the price of real estate, a lot of properties have gone down. So right now, I probably couldn't sell my house for what I paid for it for a couple of years ago, which which is fine because I'm not moving any. You know, we all know moving sucks, so I'd rather just wait 10 years anyways. And you know, again, that buy and hold pattern, real estate's the same thing. You're there for 10 years. Pretty much 99% sure your investment in real estate is going to appreciate over that 10-year time period.
Mhm.
And you've also paid that mortgage down in that 10-year time period.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm in the same boat as you, Patrick, with I'm locked in the fixed rate right now at, I don't even know what it is, but you know, 3%, 2.5, something nice and low. And yeah, I'm not looking forward you know, in you know, whatever it is, 3 or 4 years when they say to me, "Oh, your interest is now 6% or whatever."
Yeah.
With that said, too, the possibility in that 3 or 4 years, maybe interest rates will start to come back down again. I'm pretty much know I won't get to lock in at 2.5 or 3, but maybe 3.5 or 4 because they've come back down from that high of 6 and 6.5. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed on that one.
I think we can pretty much all confidently say that whatever mortgage rate we have right now, we will not end up with at the time of renewal whenever we get it. It's just one of those
Right.
things of like, we're not seeing those times again for a while, I think.
So I'm just wondering, should we still be talking about investing as opposed to paying down your mortgage at this point? You know, because I think Budget Dog, you know, that's his, you know, he preaches on this all the time is to pay down your mortgage first. And it starts a lot of back and forth on Twitter about the invest and pay your mortgage. And the biggest argument was invest because the amount of money of your mortgage, the percentage of fees for your mortgage, you know, to just leave it there and pay the minimum is negligible. But right now, I think the table has turned, you know. So, and for how long? That's the biggest worrying.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Patrick, and I don't know the answer to it myself. I agree that, you know, a year, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, yeah, I'm still not overly concerned with paying my mortgage off in whether it's 10, 15, 20 years because, you know, I would much rather pump that into investments and dividends and what we're talking about, just, you know, making that snowball grow. And yeah, there definitely is sort of a balancing act there to which side of the scale you're on.
Mhm. Yeah, to me there absolutely is no wrong answer because the one thing you need to use is you need to use this. Is okay, if I pay down my mortgage quicker, will I feel more comfortable? Yes. Go do it. Like there's no one should have the right to tell you you're doing it wrong. Like no, you need to be able to sleep at night. Whatever way that helps you sleep like a baby at night, you do that. If it's paying down your mortgage, it's doing that. If it's investing, you do that. Like there's a lot of people that go like, oh, like you don't pay down the mortgage. You have to invest everything you possibly can. And then you have a whole bunch of different crowd that's like, absolutely not. You pay down that mortgage to zero. It's the Dave Ramsey model a little bit, which I don't understand all the hate for Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's done a lot of things for a lot of great people. Maybe some of the tactics he uses are not the greatest, but I mean, he has done a lot of things to help a lot of people, and everyone should just kind of accept that. So there is the fact that look, if you need to sleep comfortable at night, you need to do whatever the best for your financial position. Like you can't sit there and let someone tell you do this and you're going to be comfortable, because at the end of the day, you're going to be the one that has to live with those decisions. Like you need to make your own informed decisions. Informed is the key word. Figure out what works for you and then follow that.
Yeah, and that's I think a good way to say it, a good way for prospective investors to get into the investing, their investing journey with that piece of knowledge. 100%.
Yeah, now, and sorry to cut you off there, Patrick, but sort of to Steve's point, if you do pay your mortgage down first, and suddenly you have your house paid off, and you really only have to worry about property tax, which is, if you've paid the mortgage off, property tax shouldn't be a problem.
No.
And all of a sudden, now you can, what you were paying, say, $1,500, $2,000 a month in a mortgage, now you can really sock that away into your investing. So, like Steve just said, no wrong answer, right?
Yeah. It's all personal preference.
Yeah. But I mean, if you invest, 10 years, if I, for example, right now, as Dividend Kim was saying, time is his best friend in investing. If he's busy paying down his mortgage and you only invest 25 years down the line, he's not advanced. So there's really that balance that you got to do. Like you were saying, Millennial Mojo, you got to be able to sleep at night. We don't trade options, maybe because we don't have the risk tolerance for it. But you do what you can.
Yeah, for some people, it's a math perspective of looking at, okay, I can earn 7% on my investments versus the 2.5% theoretically on my mortgage. Okay, well, obviously it makes more sense to do the 7%. Like I have my spread there of 3.5, 4.5. Math is failing me right now.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, math is my strong suit, but I couldn't do that little calculation right there. So I do like to do the investment portion versus paying down my mortgage, because I did do the pay down of my mortgage at the start. I will openly admit I did do that. I then pulled out some of that equity to go buy a rental property, but that was kind of baked into the plan of why I was doing it at the start. But now that I look back at it in retrospect, I go, maybe that wasn't the best. Well, I know now, looking in retrospect, obviously hindsight's 2020, wasn't the best decision to do, but it still worked out for me in the end. So now it's okay. Let's just handle the investment portion. I'm comfortable with this, and again, it's all about your own risk tolerance. You need to do what's going to help you sleep at night.
I think Tim says it great right here, to each their own.
Yeah, Tim, you the man. I agree.
And honestly, Steve, that's exactly where I've been these last few years, is like, okay, my mortgage is, like I said, it's low at fixed rate of 2.5% or whatever. And between all of my dividends and whatnot, I'm at, let's say, that 7%. And it's like, well, it makes more sense for me to keep investing in the 7% and just pay that 2.5% off slowly, because it's a net gain. Now we'll see where that, like we've all just agreed, when it comes time for us to refinance our mortgages, we'll see where that, if we can still fall into that net gain, or does it suddenly start to make more sense to, that $200 or $300 or $400 a month that I was putting into investing, do I now want to stick that onto my mortgage every month to try to just, and again, who knows what the answer is? Not me.
Yeah, because I mean, if someone knew what the mortgage rate would be in 3 years, like, give me a call. Like, I want to know this information, but
Right.
We don't know that information. It's stuff that we'll find out in the future as we go.
So I know Nathan is still here with us, but I think he just had to start babysitting because his wife was on her way to work or something. And I think so. Nathan's here in the chat saying that That's Right Time is his best friend.
Yeah, because everyone will have different risk tolerances. Yeah, 1 to 99%. Yeah, it'll definitely be somewhere between those two numbers.
So let's not hope it's anywhere near the 99%.
I'm hoping not. Let's keep it to single
I'd be
digits.
okay with 1%. I'd be quite okay with that. Sorry, Patrick, you're going to say something there?
I was gonna plug the non-investment advice.
Right.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like all of us can only speak from our own personal perspectives, and that's all that we can give. If you take something away from that, great. I hope you did, but we can't tell you what to do. We're only going to speak
Exactly.
from our own perspectives.
And both you guys and Nathan have been guests on the Passive Income podcast in the past, and I think Steve and I have talked about this too. Of all these different people that I've talked to about their different journeys, different paths, different strategies, and we're all learning from each other. And I've taken so much from so many of these conversations from so many people that it's just been, yeah. I think I've had to open up a new sector in my brain for some more. For, the old Homer Simpson line. Every time I learn something new, it pushes something old out. So.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, guys, I see we're pushing an hour and a half here, and this has been just an amazing conversation, amazing live panel. We've had some great uh, comments in the chat. Anything you'd like to say in closing?
Pat, I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna go with the same thing I said last time. Stick to the plan, man. So pick a plan, stick to it, and that's the best way for you to have a financial future guaranteed.
I like it. Stick to the plan. Find
Now
the
I
plan
wish
that
I-
works for you and stick to it. And
Now-
again, going back to Dividend John, he's a great example of that. He found a plan that worked for him, stuck to it, stuck to his guns, and look where he is now, right?
Now
Yeah,
I kind of
no.
wish I would. Now I kind of wish I would have went first because I would have said exactly what Patrick said. So yeah, I can't follow that. Like that's exactly what I would say.
Awesome.
That's it. Nothing else, Steve?
Nope, nothing else. I think I've done enough talking already.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for coming on and spending your time with me here on the Passive Income Podcast live panel roundtable. Thank you as well to Nathan, who was able to be here for an hour. Also, that was great. Like I said, this is, just a lot of fun for me to do this, to talk to so many people. The lives have been great. Trying to do one per month, the first Sunday of every month. And if you're still watching, please subscribe.
Dave, you're doing yeoman's work. Thank you for bringing us out.